Hi friends, uh, today we will talk about hemoglobin and myoglobin. This is a four-part session and we will discuss in detail. Okay, before entering into structure of hemoglobin, we will see the normal two chains. One is alpha chain and another is beta chain. Alpha chain is present in chromosome 16 and beta, gamma, delta are present in chromosome 11. Alpha chain has 141 amino acid, beta chain has 146. See, there are totally 36 histidine amino acids are present in albumin. It's very important because histidine can attach one H plus atom. H plus is nothing but a proton, also called an acid. So it's important for buffering action. So hemoglobin is a great buffer. It can if the little bit of acids are added, our blood can withstand the pH change. The blood will, our pH will not change because of buffers. Buffer are substances which does not allow the acid to decrease the pH. This is the change in the pH is called buffering action. So hemoglobin is an important buffer because of 36 histidine residues. The 58th amino acid in alpha chain and the 87th both are histidine. One is called a distal histidine, one is called a proximal histidine. It is based upon the distance from the ion atom. So you have to remember 36 histidine atoms molecules are present in hemoglobin. They are important for buffering action, and two histidine are there. One is a proximal histidine and another is a distal histidine. It has four globin chains. Okay, each globin has one heme molecule. So hemoglobin has four heme molecules. Okay, what is heme molecule? Heme molecule contains iron in the middle, and has four pyrrole rings. Four pyrrole rings, and this is heme. Heme contains one iron and four pyrrole rings, and this iron is attached to all the four pyrrole rings. But iron's valency is 6. So the fifth valency is satisfied by the proximal histidine. See, proximal histidine is in the globin. This is heme. Iron is in the heme. Heme is not a protein. Heme, this iron, four pyrrole rings is attached with the iron. The fifth valency is satisfied by the protein, the globin protein. Globin, there is a proximal histidine. It is attached. So what happens to the sixth valency? Sixth valency is free. So it is free because it will bind to the oxygen. Okay, this oxygen has two valencies. So one is attached with this iron, and oxygen is also attached to the distal histidine. See how iron is packed, this oxygen is packed inside the heme and globin molecule. So this slide does not contain video. See, it's a hemoglobin molecule. I will explain to you. Iron has how many valencies? Iron has 6 valencies. It is attached to the 4 pyrrole rings. What is a pyrrole ring? Pyrrole ring is nothing but a ring in a heme molecule. So heme molecules contain, it's a tetrapyrrole, 4 pyrrole rings. Iron is attached to 4 pyrrole rings, and iron is attached to the protein, globin chain. It's the proximal histidine of the globin chain. And the remaining one valence is satisfied by the oxygen. When hemoglobin goes to the lungs, it is attached to the oxygen. Actually, it attaches with the 2 oxygen. And the second oxygen attaches to the distal histidine of the globin chain. So this is how oxygen is transported inside a hemoglobin molecule. So this is the hemoglobin molecule. This is one chain. You have to remember that this is a single chain. So that means there are 4 chains, 4 polypeptide chains, alpha 2 and beta 2. So 4 heme molecules are there. So one hemoglobin molecule can attach around 8 atoms of oxygen or 4 molecules of oxygen. See, oxygen dissociation curve. It's a very important 5-mark question. We will discuss about it in the next slide. So whenever they ask you this oxygen dissociation curve for hemoglobin, you have to draw this graph. So the left side, the x-axis is partial pressure of oxygen in millimeter mercury, and the y-axis is hemoglobin saturation. So how much of hemoglobin is filled with oxygen? It is given by percentage. So hemoglobin dissociation curve is a S-shaped curve. You see the top right corner. When the partial pressure of oxygen is around 100%, that means in the lungs. In the lungs, once you inhale oxygen, the partial pressure of oxygen in your lungs, it will be around 100%. Okay, in the alveoli. So what happens at the time, all the oxygen will be taken up by the hemoglobin, and hemoglobin is filled with oxygen. See the left side, the saturation is also 100%. So whenever the partial pressure of oxygen is 100%, the hemoglobin will be completely saturated with oxygen. And you see that when the hemoglobin, it is in the RBC, now RBC is pumped by the heart to the peripheral tissues. So in the peripheral tissues, what happens? The oxygen level is low because the cells are using up oxygen. The oxygen level is low. So the hemoglobin slowly releases the oxygen. Okay. See at the partial pressure of 20, the hemoglobin, 80% of its oxygen is released to the tissues. It's only 20. So when partial pressure of oxygen is 0, the hemoglobin saturation is also 0. That means whenever oxygen is needed, the hemoglobin will deliver. For example, what if the government gives a ration rice to me? There is no purpose. Okay, I have money, I can buy rice of my own, but government should give ration rice to the poor. Similarly, when the oxygen level at POT is high, the hemoglobin should not release the oxygen. So in the tissue level, when the oxygen level is low, it has to gradually release the oxygen. How effectively this hemoglobin delivers oxygen to the tissues? Okay, how it can take up that oxygen, or how effectively it can deliver to the tissues? It is depending upon few factors. Okay, so the factors affecting the oxygen dissociation curve, this is also an important 5-mark question. One is called Heme-Heme interaction and cooperativity, effect of pH and the carbon dioxide concentration, Bohr effect, chloride shift, effect of temperature, and effect of 2,3-bisphosphoglycerate. So first we will come to heme-heme interaction and cooperativity. See, the shape of the curve is sigmoid shape. Why it is sigmoid shape? It is because of cooperativity. The binding of oxygen to one heme. See, totally how many hemes are there? 4 heme molecules are there. So binding of heme to oxygen to one heme breaks the salt bridges between the polypeptide chain and facilitate the binding of oxygen to other subunits. Simple. So if this PowerPoint is viewed by one person, he will teach the next person, he will teach the next person, he will teach the next person. Similarly, binding of oxygen to the one heme molecule will help the binding of another oxygen to bind with the next heme molecule in the same hemoglobin. Do you understand? So in this slide, we will understand what about heme cooperativity. So now the RBC is in the lungs. Okay. So how many chains are there? Alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1, beta 2. All these are polypeptide chains in the globin protein. So how many heme molecules? 4 heme molecules are there. Each chain carries one heme molecule, and they are linked by salt bridges. Okay, see the blue color are called the salt bridges. When the salt bridges are intact, oxygen binding is difficult. So now what happens? Now this hemoglobin molecule enters into the lungs, and the first alpha 1 it attaches one oxygen. Okay, alpha 1 attaches one oxygen. See, there is the blue color salt bridge is broken between alpha 1 and alpha 2. So the binding of oxygen to the alpha 1 breaks the bond between the alpha 1 and alpha 2. Now alpha 2 can take up oxygen. See, alpha 2 has taken up oxygen. See the bond between alpha 2 and beta 2, the blue color bond, salt bridge is gone. Now beta 2 can easily bind to the oxygen. Now you see the salt bridge between alpha 1 and beta 1 is broken. So beta 1 is getting oxygen. Finally, beta 2 is getting 4 molecules of oxygen as bound to the hemoglobin molecule. This is called heme-heme interaction or cooperativity. Next factor that affects the oxygen dissociation curve is called the Bohr effect. It is an important 2-mark or 5-mark question. See, in tissues, the PCO2 level will be high because oxygen is used up, and due to metabolism, the cells are releasing carbon dioxide. And pH is low because the more amount of lactic acid, pyruvic acid is produced due to metabolism. So the pH is low. Due to the increased PCO2, CO2 enters into the RBC and combines with water. So CO2 plus H2O inside the RBC becomes H2CO3. This H2CO3 is called carbonic acid. It breaks down into H plus HCO3 minus. So H plus is produced. So the acidity inside increases. Happens, CO2 goes inside and H plus production is more. So the pH is decreased. So this decreased pH and increased carbon dioxide, what will make it is happening in the tissues. So what does it does is it makes the hemoglobin to detach the oxygen. So the oxygen will come out, it enters into the tissues. So this is called Bohr effect. So the decreased pH and increased PCO2 causes the release of oxygen from hemoglobin. This is called Bohr effect. So when acidity increases, when PCO2 increases, the unloading of oxygen will be faster. Always remember this term, faster unloading of oxygen. Okay, faster unloading of oxygen. So affinity of the hemoglobin towards oxygen is reduced. So the oxygen dissociation curve shifts to the right. So this is called Bohr effect. So when acidity and PCO2 increases, unloading of oxygen is faster. This is called Bohr effect. Oxygen dissociation curve will shift to the right. It's a very important Viva question. At what situations the oxygen dissociation curve will be shifted to the right, like that they will ask. See, in the lungs, what happens, the PO2 is high and PCO2 is low. So what happens, the concentration gradient. So now RBC is packed with the carbon dioxide. Lungs does not have carbon dioxide. So all the oxygen, carbon dioxide will come out and oxygen will go in. So this is the Bohr effect. This is the normal oxygen dissociation curve. It's a sigmoid shape. So when the PO2 is high, the saturation is high. When PO2 is less, the hemoglobin releases all the oxygen. Now what happens? This is the Bohr effect. So when acidity and PCO2 increases, the unloading will be faster. So oxygen dissociation curve shifted to the right. The effect of temperature. What happens in effect of temperature? When you increase the temperature, the reaction rate will be faster. So, like the collision will be faster. What happens when you are sitting in a chair and I put fire under your chair? You will start running. Okay. Whenever there is the increased temperature, reaction rate will be faster. But after a certain temperature, what happens? The reaction rate will not be faster because the proteins will get denatured. It's what we have seen in the enzymes. So P50 is the partial pressure of oxygen at which hemoglobin is 50% saturated. P50 of HbA is 26 mm and HbF is 20 mm. So elevation of temperature from 20 degrees to 37 degrees centigrade causes 88% increase in P50. So what happens to the curve? Curve automatically shift to the right. What do you mean by curve shifted to the right? Faster unloading. Yes, faster unloading of oxygen happens. So this is the chloride shift. This is one of the factor affecting the oxygen dissociation curve. So what is this chloride shift? I will explain it in the next slide. See what happens in the tissues. In the tissue level, carbon dioxide production will be more. This carbon dioxide should be transported by the hemoglobin. So the carbon dioxide comes inside. Carbon dioxide comes inside to the hemoglobin. It's joined with the, see the first line. It joins with the H2O to become H2CO3. This H2CO3 is carbonic acid. It divides into H plus HCO3 minus H plus HCO3 minus. You forget about the HCO3. Now we will concentrate on the H plus. This H plus, okay, combines with see the now the where is the RBC coming from? The RBC is coming from the lungs. So in the lungs, it takes up the oxygen. So in the hemoglobin, now oxygen is there as HbO2. It is present as HbO2. So what happens? This hydrogen ions, H plus ions, it joins with HbO2. so that it becomes HHB. So the now hemoglobin, it attaches to the hydrogen atoms, and the oxygen is released. Oxygen enters into the tissue. See, that is the function of RBC, to transport oxygen. How? This is, see, Bohr effect. When the acidity increases, oxygen delivery will be faster. So H plus ions, it displaces oxygen from the hemoglobin, so it becomes HHB plus O2. Now you come to the bicarbonate ions. What happens to the bicarbonate? Bicarbonate will be transported outside the RBC, okay, and to maintain the electrical neutrality, chloride ion Cl minus, it will come inside. So this bicarbonate, the carbon dioxide will be transported as bicarbonate in the plasma only, not by the RBC. This is called chloride shift. So what happens in the lungs in this chloride shift? Okay, I will explain in the next slide. The RBC reaches the lungs. Now what happens? You see the bottom right side. So we are inhaling oxygen. This oxygen is in the alveoli. It enters into the blood, enters into the RBC. So in the RBC, what is the HHB? See, from the previous slide we have seen it is HHB. So oxygen in the lungs, it enters into the RBC and combines with HHB. So what happens? This hydrogen is displaced. Now oxygen is attached. So HHB becomes hydrogen separated. Now it becomes HbO2. Now it goes to the tissues. So H plus. Now what happens to the bicarbonate? See the left side. Bicarbonate is in the plasma. Carbon dioxide is transported as bicarbonate in the plasma. So HCO3 enters inside, whereas the chloride moves outside. This is another chloride shift. So what happens to this HCO3? HCO3 plus H plus becomes H2CO3, and H2CO3 becomes H2O plus CO2. CO2 enters into the lungs and enters into the exhalation. So this is called chloride shift. This is how oxygen and carbon dioxide are transported inside our body. Factor that is affecting the oxygen dissociation curve is effect of 2,3-bisphosphoglycerate. Have you heard this 2,3-bisphosphoglycerate? You have to revise it, glycolysis. Okay, 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate you have known in glycolysis, but 2,3-BPG, it is produced only by the RBC by a deviation of glycolysis called this Rappaport lubrication. That is also a 5 mark or a 2 mark question. So this Rappaport lubrication produces 2,3-BPG. Their concentration is higher in the children. What does it do? See, we have seen the first picture, Heme-Heme cooperativity. In that I forgot to mention a point called taut state and relaxed state. Okay, so when there are so much of salt bridges are called, it's called taut state, and when there is no salt bridge, it's called the relaxed state. So now you remember. So what happens is 2,3-BPG binds to the taut state and forms salt bridges and stabilizes deoxyhemoglobin. That is, it prevents oxygen attachment, or we can say there will be affinity of hemoglobin towards oxygen is reduced. That means what? Faster unloading. When the oxygen affinity is reduced, faster unloading will be there. So automatically the curve shifts to the right. See, the important point is HbF. HbF cannot effectively bind to 2,3-BPG. So hemoglobin F have high oxygen affinity. See, you have to use your logic. In the lungs, what happens? The partial pressure of oxygen is 100, okay, 100 millimeter mercury. So there, when the hemoglobin is coming there, so the hemoglobin is completely saturated with oxygen. But think about the fetus. Is the fetus breathing inside the mother's womb? No. It is deriving the oxygen from the mother's venous circulation. See, what is the venous partial pressure of oxygen in the mother's veins? Okay, umbilical vein. It will be around 40 millimeter mercury. So you have to extract the oxygen. The fetus has to extract the oxygen. That means the affinity should be more. Affinity should be more. So what happens? Because of this high affinity, the oxygen dissociation will shift to the left, but it can absorb all the oxygen. So you can ask, sir, the delivery inside the fetus will be low only. What is that? It can deliver inside slowly, no problem. But affinity should be high. at this point. That's why 2,3-BPG cannot bind to the fetal hemoglobin. See, this is the mask I am using. It is called the N95 respirator mask. You have to wear it very tightly, okay, like this. So that when you breathe in and breathe out, this one will puff out and puff in. Your face will be full sweaty. You will look like a monkey. But this is how you have to safeguard yourself. Uh, See, we may become an asymptomatic carrier and we may spread it to our family. So, better to wear this N95 mask, cost around 200 to 250 rupees. And this is the way of wearing it. Okay, many people wear it like this. No, see this nose, this thing is there. You should fix it over your nose. Okay, and you have to press it tightly. And you have to wear this band in the back side. Okay. Now you are going to Ooty. I don't know when we will be going to Ooty and all. I used to go yearly 3 to 4 times, but now I am afraid to go to Ooty at all. So you are going to Ooty, and what will you feel there? You will have breathlessness, a little bit of breathlessness you will be having. But after a few days, you will get adjusted to that. That is how you accommodate to the higher altitudes. In the higher altitudes, the partial pressure of oxygen in the atmosphere is very less. So what does our body do? See, to meet the reduced oxygen level in the high altitudes, there will be increase in the number of RBC, polycythemia. So number of RBC, so that more oxygen will be transported easily. Increase in the hemoglobin concentration. Okay, so that more amount of oxygen is transported. And the third is increase in the 2,3-bisphosphoglycerate. So what happens? I told you 2,3-BPG, what is the function? Shift the curve to the right and decreases the affinity of the hemoglobin to the oxygen. So faster unloading. Always remember faster unloading. So faster unloading means yes. So the oxygen will be delivered faster. So we will be happy. No hypoxia will be there. Number two, what happens in anemia? I think most of you girls are having anemia. Your hemoglobin is less. So 2,3-BPG increases to prevent hypoxia. Why there is no hypoxia in MC? Hypoxia is delivery of oxygen is reduced. Delivery of oxygen to the tissues is reduced. Many of us are anemic, but we are not having hypoxia. Okay, because there is a compensatory increase in 2,3-BPG. And pulmonary diseases, some lung function will be affected. So here also the delivery will be defective. So 2,3-BPG will be increased. Seen until now, what is hemoglobin? What is how iron is attached to the heme molecule and the hemoglobin, and how oxygen is transported here. And finally, what are the factors affecting the oxygen dissociation curve? Next, we come to different topic. Transport of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is transported in two methods. One is the isohydric transport and another is carbamino hemoglobin. So carbon dioxide is transported as two forms, isohydric and carbamino compounds. So isohydric transport I will explain in the next slide. See, this is the same method as in chloride shift. You remember chloride shift, what happens in the tissues? Carbon dioxide enters, becomes H2CO3, becomes H plus plus HCO3 minus, and forget this hydrogen, HCO3, so carbon dioxide, right? It enters into the plasma, instead chloride enters inside. This is called chloride shift. So this is how your carbon dioxide is transported. This is called isohydric transport. So as bicarbonate in the plasma, not in the RBC. So what happens in the lungs? Lungs, bicarbonate enters, chloride comes back, bicarbonate plus H plus becomes H2CO3 becomes H2O plus CO2, and CO2 is released into the lungs, into the atmosphere. So this is how carbon dioxide is transported. Almost 80 to 90% of carbon dioxide is transported in this method only, isohydric transport. Yeah, this is the same thing as previous slide. Yes, this is how carbon dioxide is released. See, HCO3 enters inside, becomes H2CO3, becomes H2O plus CO2 plus becomes carbon dioxide. It enters into the lungs, it enters into the air. So the another method of transport of carbon dioxide is becoming carbamino hemoglobin. See, 15 to 20% of carbon dioxide combines with hemoglobin to form carbamino compounds of hemoglobin. CO2 combines with the amino acids of the hemoglobin protein to become carbamino hemoglobin. So inside the lungs, this dissociates and this carbon dioxide is released into the lungs. So finally, the thank you slide came. Okay, so this is my first try on creating this thing. And, see, there are so many glitches. I want to take you a webinar. I think the software is not ready, and I have seen some webinars in Zoom and all. I don't think it's perfect, and I have to make a lot of research on webinars and all. But the management is trying something. So this is my way of doing things. Let's see how interesting this is. You can see my face, so it's like a real class. But the thing is, it is not real, no. In the class, we will have some spontaneous laughs and all. Here it's like monotonous, but you have to adjust. See, yesterday's Dinamalar newspaper, they have told that classes may start from September. There will be online exams. I don't know. See, this is a UGC recommendation to the central government, like that it has given in the news. But I don't know. Maybe this becomes your main class until whole first year, rest of the first year. So you cannot just mark presence and go away. No, you have to listen all these things. See, we are at revision part. Every day you have to read whatever we are teaching you. You have to read the same day. So be careful, students. And please listen to the class and learn everything. And the WhatsApp group, you ask any doubt you want. கிளாஸ்லலாம் கேட்கறது இல்லை, ப்ராக்டிக்கலி கேட்கறது இல்லை, இங்கே கேட்க வேண்டியது தானே. இங்கே வாட்ஸ்அப்பில் கேட்கலாமே, ஒன்றும் தப்பு கிடையாது. ஓகே கைஸ், கேர்ள்ஸ், பை பை, தேங்க்யூ.